going to recap our definitions with parallel lines, okay? So you don't need to write this down, just watch. Okay, so this is what we did. We had two lines. If I tell you that they are parallel, and I cut through them, okay, what do I know? So let's pretend that this was 60 degrees. If that is 60, I also can tell you that this has to be 60. What would be my definition reasoning why? What are those angles to each other? Do you remember the name of that one? If they're both in a right upper quadrant kind of thing. If they're both in the same spot, do you remember that word? They are corresponding. Okay? If I give you that that is 60, you also know that is 60. That's a property. If those are parallel, these angles need to be equal. What's the definition of that one? Why? Alternating exterior angles. If I gave you that 60, you also know this angle is 60. Why do you know that's 60? Not that one. Opposite. They're opposite. So if I know that's 60, then that's 60. What's the reasoning on that one? Remember that rule? What are they to each other? Flip-flopped sides. And if you think about a sandwich, they're on the inside. So alternating interior angles. Okay, and then if these are parallel and you cut, then if this is 60, what is this angle? 120, because if these are parallel inside on the same side, sorry, there's no definition on that, just inside angles, same side, are supplementary. Okay, so on the test, if I did something like this, are these lines parallel? And I gave you that. What can you conclude? What do you know about these lines right here? This one and this one, are they parallel or not? Yes or no? What do you think? Are these? They're not parallel. Why are they not? Not even. Because, what would I say? Alternating exteriors are not equal, therefore they're not parallel. Okay, I feel like we would benefit if I made a little quiz with these words. Would that be helpful if tomorrow maybe if I made a little like matching quiz, like not for grades or anything, but just for you to practice with? Okay, I'll do that for you tomorrow then. I'll make a little matchup. Okay, let's go to page 7 in your book. Okay, so I'm going to go with question 4 here. Do you see what I did? Can you do this on your paper? I extended a bunch of these lines out. Can you kind of do that as well? All those lines, extend them out. Okay, so these lines are parallel. right? Because do you see those little marks on the lines? Those are parallel. Okay, this is my saw blade. I'm cutting through them like that. Okay, so 36. Do you see anywhere I could put 36 to help me out? Are there any corresponding, alternating interiors, opposites, or anywhere else I could put a 36? Well, I could put 36 there, right? Because they crisscross, opposite. What would be the corresponding position to that position? Corresponding position. So the same side, the same up or down. Would this make sense in a corresponding? Is that what you're thinking? Kind of like above and left. What else could we do here? Can you get me this angle? Because this would make 180, right? So you can give a number on that. So that's 144. So this is also 144, but like the whole thing, not just one angle. Ooh, what else do I see? I see a shape. I see a triangle in there. Do you see a triangle? Do you think that you could get me that angle? This is kind of complicated because this angle right here would be the one I'm talking about. Think you can get me just that top angle of the triangle? Okay. What else do you see? Do you see any other things? What about, was there a crisscross here? Did that make an opposite angle? Do you see how there's an X here? Do you see that X? So could we crisscross the opposite of 36 there? So this angle is 36. I got a lot of numbers going on in here. Can you see my numbers? So 36, that's 122, that's 144. Okay. Can you see my breakdown there? From there to there was 36, there to there was 122, there to there was 144. Could you get me just this little section right there? So if this is 36 and that's 122, what's that little section? What's left? 86. Can you get me this third section? So 36, 86, and 58.
Your textbooks are here. Yeah.
Okay, what else could we do here? Let's get this angle. Okay, you know a new triangle. Do you see a new triangle there? There's a new triangle, 86, 17, and so that one came out to be 77. Does that make sense? 180 minus those other two. Okay, which means this would be 77 because of the opposite once they make an X pattern. Okay, now you could get this angle, right? You could either go with the triangle to get it, or you could go supplementary with the 77 to get it. Both of those would work the same. So 103. Okay, you know what I could do now? I think I can get this angle right here. Okay, do you see how I could do a triangle with a 103, a 36? So that corner would be 41. And according to your diagram, do we have all of our angles we probably need? Because we had to find all the angles inside your object, I think. Are we good? We have that, that, that. Right? Do we have them all? I made my diagram so messed up I can't see anymore.
I think so.
They're all just filled in? Okay, so we had to use parallel line. We found some corresponding opposites. We used triangles. We used straight lines. We used a bunch of that stuff. So do you see how you're just going to have to strategize and follow, hey, I could get this angle. Well, now that angle gives me that angle. Okay, let's do the top one together, and then I'll let you work. Okay, where do you think you would start when you see something like this? I think I'm going to go with that sum formula. Would that make sense to start with? Okay, so I think I'm going to pick this shape. How many sides are on that? What do we got there? 5 sides. So 5 subtract 2 times 180. So there's 540 degrees in there. What do these mean, these lines? They're all the same, so all the angles will be the same. You also might hear me just put in regular pentagon. If I say regular, it means all the same. So if I divide by 5, each angle is 108 degrees. Okay, so each corner is 108. So I do know that A and B together would make 108, right? Okay, now I'm going to focus you on smaller shapes. So I'm going to look at this now. You see just that triangle? Okay, what's my strategy on this, just this figure? What would you do there? So you would see, I got to add up to 180, right? So I would subtract that. So I still need 72 degrees. And what would you think about the properties of those two bottom angles on this?
They're the same.
They're the same. So I'm thinking, hey, if I divide this by 2, then they both have to be 36. So I already have A. So whatever you have left, you cut in half, right? So therefore, what would you do to get angle B here? You would have to think that, hey, those two angles got to make 108 together, right? The two in the corner. So that one is 72. Okay, I'm going to go for C now. How will I get angle C? $180 in there. So those two have to be 180. What about that angle? So this was 108. So then this also has to be 72 because, right? That's 108. So those would have to make a straight line together, those two. Okay, and the last but not least is D. How would you get D? 72, and so those need to make 180. And that's it. But we had to use the sum and then kind of break down our shapes. So you might run into that.